There are moments when life seems to lose all shape. Plans collapse. Answers do not come. Money gets tight. A relationship changes. The body grows tired. The mind becomes heavy. The future, which once looked like a road, suddenly turns into fog. And it is exactly in those moments that many people discover an uncomfortable truth. It is not hard to be balanced when everything is going well. What is truly hard is to remain whole when life spins out of control. Because when chaos knocks at the door, it does not come alone. It brings fear. It brings anxiety. It brings impulsiveness. It brings despair. It brings that urge to solve everything at once, to react at any cost, to find an immediate escape just to relieve the pressure for a few minutes. But that is where many people lose themselves, not because life became difficult, but because in the middle of the difficulty, they abandoned their own center. And if there's a deep difference between the person who collapses inwardly and the one who crosses the storm with dignity, that difference is almost never luck. It is inner structure. It is the way a person thinks, interprets, endures, acts, and remains. That is why today, I want to show you 12 Stoic rules for staying strong when life gets out of control. Not to pretend that nothing hurts, not to become stone, not to wear a mask of emotional superiority, but to help you learn not to hand your peace, your clarity, and your character over to the chaos outside. And before we continue, write this in the comments. I will not collapse inside. Write it as a commitment. Because many people are trying to put their lives back in order on the outside without realizing that the first reconstruction has to happen on the inside. The first rule is this: accept quickly what has already happened. This is one of the greatest strengths of Stoicism. Not wasting emotional energy fighting reality after reality has already imposed itself. Most people suffer twice. They suffer because of the fact, and then they suffer because they resist the fact. Something ended, but they keep fighting as if it should not have ended. Something changed, but they keep demanding internally that nothing should have changed. Something was lost, but they remain trapped in the fantasy that they can still return to the exact place they were before. That delay in acceptance deepens the pain. Acceptance is not liking it. It is not approving it. It is not giving up. It is simply stopping the waste of strength spent denying what is already real. Marcus Aurelius understood this with brutal clarity. Life does not ask whether you feel ready. It simply happens. And the sooner you stop fighting the finished fact, the sooner your energy returns to the only useful place. What can be done now? There are people who remain emotionally stuck, not because the problem is bigger than they are, but because they still have not accepted that the landscape has changed. And while you do not accept, you do not act clearly. You act with resentment. You act with nostalgia. You act with resistance. You act with wounded pride. Acceptance does not remove the pain immediately, but it removes the waste. The second rule is this: separate what is in your hands from what never was. This may be the backbone of Stoicism, and also one of the greatest sources of relief for a tired mind. When life gets out of control, the tendency is to want even more control. To control people, to control deadlines, to control results, to control other people's opinions, to control the entire future. But that creates a silent exhaustion, because you begin spending your strength trying to govern what does not obey you. Epictetus was direct. Some things depend on us, and others do not. When you forget that, you go to war with the world. When you remember that, you return to governing yourself. You do not control everything that happens, but you do control the quality of your response. You do not control what others say, but you do control how low you will go to return poison for poison. You do not control the timing of things, but you do control whether you will use that time to destroy yourself or strengthen yourself. You do not control uncertainty, but you do control the way you choose to walk through it. Peace is not having control over everything. Peace is not confusing control with obsession. The third rule is this: do not turn a difficult moment into your identity. This mistake destroys many good people. A person goes through a bad phase and begins to define themselves by it. They are not lost for a while. They become a lost person. They are not tired. They become a failure. They are not suffering. They become broken. They are not in crisis. They become the crisis itself. And when that happens, the problem stops being merely circumstantial. It begins to contaminate how you see yourself. Stoicism teaches something very important here. The event may hit you, but it does not automatically earn the right to define you. A loss does not summarize you. A failure does not exhaust you. A rejection does not translate your worth. A confusing season does not reveal your essence. There are people who spend years rebuilding their lives because, in a moment of pain, they accepted a lie about themselves. You are not only what you lived through on your worst day. You are not the version of yourself that appeared at the height of fear. You are not the confusion you felt when everything was dark. There is a difference between going through chaos and becoming chaos, and you need to protect that difference. The fourth rule is this: slow down your reaction. Almost every inner collapse gets worse when it meets haste. Fear wants fast decisions. Anger wants immediate responses. Anxiety wants rushed conclusions. Neediness wants the pain resolved now. Despair wants any exit, even the wrong one. But when life gets out of control, emotional speed is almost always an enemy of clarity. There are moments when the strongest thing you can do is not answer yet, not decide yet, not conclude yet, not chase yet, not end yet, not explain yet. The immature person thinks strength means acting fast. The strong person knows that sometimes true strength is enduring a few minutes without obeying the first impulse. How many messages were sent at the worst moment? How many relationships were wounded by impulsive replies? How many decisions were made on emotionally clouded days? How many resignations were born not from lack of a path, but from momentary exhaustion? Life gets out of control once. Your thoughtless reaction can send out of control what still could have been saved. The fifth rule is this: endure discomfort without chasing foolish relief. This rule is decisive because many people do not lose themselves out of malice, but out of an inability to bear discomfort. They want to relieve pain quickly, so they return to what weakens them. They want to relieve fear quickly, so they run from what they need to face. They want to relieve insecurity quickly, so they beg for validation. They want to relieve anguish quickly, so they make immature decisions. They want to relieve loneliness quickly, so they accept any presence. The problem is that immediate relief usually charges a high price in the long run. The Stoic does not idolize comfort. He understands that discomfort is part of the process of remaining dignified in an unstable world. Sometimes strength is not winning today. It is enduring today without selling yourself away, enduring the urge to respond, enduring the urge to beg, enduring the urge to quit, enduring the urge to numb your heart with any distraction, enduring emptiness without running toward a familiar mistake. There is suffering that matures you. There is relief that destroys you. Knowing the difference is a form of practical wisdom. The sixth rule is this: keep your principles when your emotions want to bargain everything away. It is easy to talk about character when the day is light. What is hard is holding on to principles when pain tightens, when the ego bleeds, when fear begins suggesting shortcuts. That is when you discover whether your values are real or merely moral decoration. When life gets out of control, there is a temptation to become smaller just to survive the moment, to lie because it is easier, to humiliate in order to discharge pain, to betray your own word, to accept what wounds your soul, to do what you know you should not do just because you are too tired to keep honoring your own conscience. But every time you abandon your principles in exchange for relief, the external crisis becomes inner corrosion. Marcus Aurelius insisted on this. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Notice the force of that rule. When chaos presses in, it gives you structure back. It tells you, the world may be confused, but your conduct does not have to be. Your suffering does not grant you permission to become just anything. There are pains that test your firmness. There are pains that reveal your greatness. And there are pains that show whether you will abandon yourself or continue being someone your own conscience can trust. The seventh rule is this: do not exaggerate the future inside your mind. When life gets out of control, thought almost always runs to the worst-case scenario. And not only runs there, it settles there. The mind begins making films. What if everything goes wrong? What if I cannot do it? What if this gets worse? What if I lose everything? What if no one comes? What if I cannot bear it? And without realizing it, you stop suffering only because of the present and begin suffering because of imagined versions of tomorrow. Seneca said that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and that remains absurdly current. There are people being consumed not by what has already happened, but by what the mind keeps manufacturing without pause. This does not mean ignoring risks. It means not feeding inner catastrophes as though they were inevitable facts. The future has not arrived yet. But many people have already wounded themselves entirely inside just by imagining it badly. Returning to the present does not solve everything, but it restores sobriety. What exists now? What needs to be done today? What is the next real step? What, at this exact moment, is concrete and can be faced? Anyone who wants to stay strong needs to stop living surrounded by mental ghosts. The 8th rule is this: turned difficulty into character training. This is one of the most powerful shifts in the Stoic view. The problem stops being only an obstacle and also becomes a training ground. That does not romanticize pain. It simply prevents it from being useless. A difficult season may reveal how much you still depend on other people's approval. A loss may teach you what was really holding your piece together. A frustration may expose where you are confusing control with safety. A period of waiting may work on your inner discipline. A rejection may force you to build. A crisis may teach you to separate urgency from desperation. The question changes completely. Instead of only asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this trying to strengthen in me?" That question gives dignity back to suffering, because there are people who come out of the same crisis smaller, more bitter, more disordered. And there are people who come out more sober, more grounded, clearer, more mature. The difference is not only in what they lived through, it is in the way they used what they lived through. The 9th rule is this: watch the story you create around your pain. Chaos never arrives alone. It comes with a story, and often that story hurts more than the fact itself. The fact is, something went differently than planned. The story is, my life has collapsed. The fact is, someone pulled away. The story is, no one stays. The fact is, you failed at one attempt. The story is, I never succeed. The fact is, there is uncertainty. The story is, I will not survive this. The wounded mind exaggerates, absolutizes, dramatizes, closes doors too early, and if you do not watch that story, you begin living inside a distorted version of reality. It is not that pain does not exist. It is that it grows too much when it finds a mind that turns it into a final sentence. The story you repeat shapes your inner state, and your inner state shapes your action, and your action shapes your destiny. That is why, in moments of crisis, you need to observe seriously the way you are speaking to yourself. Some internal sentences are not reflection. They are sabotage. The 10th rule is this: preserve your minimum routine. When life gets out of control, many people tend to abandon structure completely. They sleep badly, eat badly, think badly, talk too much, isolate themselves destructively, or distract themselves compulsively, as though, since one part of life has become confused, everything else might as well collapse too. But a minimum routine is a form of silent resistance. Make your bed, take your shower, eat with some presence. Do what needs to be done today. Step outside your own head for a while. Take care of your body. Reduce excess noise. Keep going small, but steady. This may seem too simple, and perhaps that is why many people underestimate it. But there are moments when strength does not show itself in grand turning points. It shows itself in the ability to keep some axis in the middle of chaos. A minimum routine does not solve the entire crisis, but it stops you from falling apart with it. A strong person is not always the one making big moves. Sometimes it is the one who does not abandon the foundations. The 11th rule is this: accept help without handing over your command. There is an error at both extremes. One is sinking alone out of pride. The other is completely outsourcing your own stability. Stoicism is not a philosophy of arrogant isolation. It does not tell you to pretend to be absolutely but it also does not authorize you to live emotionally dependent on the strength of others. You can receive support. You can listen to someone wise. You can draw close to people who bring clarity. You can allow yourself to be held, but without handing over your conscience, your responsibility, or your direction. There are people who, when life gets out of control, do not seek help. They seek someone to think for them, someone to solve for them, someone to numb them, someone to fill them. That does not generate strength. It generates dependence. True help strengthens you inwardly. It does not infantilize you. It does not steal your agency. It does not replace your responsibility. The right presence does not remove you from the world. It returns you to your center. The 12th rule is this: remember that everything changes, including this season. This rule is not here to comfort you cheaply. It is here to restore perspective. When pain tightens, The mind wants to turn the present moment into eternity. Suffering feels final. The season feels endless. The confusion feels like identity. The wait feels like destiny. Bah, it is not. Time changes things. Maturity changes things. Discipline changes things. Vision changes things. Character changes the way you walk through the same landscape. What feels unbearable today may, sometime from now, become nothing more than the memory of a season that made you stronger. None of this means you should wait passively. It only means you should not kneel before the moment as if it were the final form of your life. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of the transience of things. Not to become indifferent, but not to be swallowed. Whoever remembers that everything passes gains inner space, and whoever gains inner space breathes better inside their own pain. Sometimes strength is not in knowing exactly how everything will end. It is in continuing to honor the next step without turning tonight into an eternal prophecy. Now put all of this together. Accept what has already happened. Separate what depends on you. Do not turn pain into identity. Slow down your reaction. Endure discomfort without foolish relief. Keep your principles. When emotion wants to bargain everything away, do not exaggerate the future. Use difficulty to refine your character. Watch your inner narrative. Preserve a minimum routine. Accept help without handing over your command. And remember that this season will change too. Do you see how this is not about looking strong? It is about building real strength. A strength without spectacle. A strength without posing. A strength that does not depend on high motivation. A strength that continues to exist even when life has lost its shape on the outside. Because in the end, staying strong does not mean not feeling fear, not feeling tired, not feeling sadness, not feeling impact. It simply means not handing the throne of your mind over to everything that tries to invade you. Life does get out of control. Yes, and perhaps it will happen more times than you would like. But that does not mean you also have to lose yourself. Keep this sentence close. Chaos can visit your life without becoming the owner of your soul. And perhaps that is the difference between the person who breaks and the person who matures. One abandons themselves when the world tightens, the other gathers themselves inwardly. So when life feels too confusing, do not ask only, how do I make this stop? Also ask, who do I choose to be while this does not pass? That question changes everything because it returns you to the most important place of all, your inner government. If this video spoke to you in a moment when everything feels a little out of alignment, leave a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and write in the comments which of these rules you most need to live by right now. And remember, life may get out of control sometimes, but your dignity, your clarity, and your character do not have to go with it.